Cradle, Dogs of Fount, Chapter 44, Part 1. Polnick had all the cameras hacked so no one checking on the feed would see the general walking in the Capitol building, leading to the former judge's idea chamber. He had in contacts that allowed him to see in the darkness, and the shafts of moonlight coming through the windows seemed like heavenly mists in the way the contacts adjusted themselves to it. The last time he was in this building, he had a respect for some of the founders in these marble-decked hallways, but after finding out they could have known about the prophecy and kept it contained, Arturo saw that as a deep betrayal. It would not be part of his legacy. That is what he was here for. In the safe, in the lounge behind the judge's meeting room, was an account of the prophecy and documents attached to it. The general didn't know what he was going to find, but anything that would shed more light on this conspiracy would help the cause to save the world, he hoped. He was now in the dining hall, walking through the collection of tables, immaculately clean, which was obvious even through the filtered vision. All the tables donned a slim black tablecloth that provided a strip across the round tables in honor of the fallen judges. Arturo guessed that anyone seated at these tables during the day couldn't really care less about the actual men that ruled so long as much as what they did for them. Right now, he was sure hackers' lackeys were assuring the congressmen and advisors, aldermen, and so forth that they would still stay fat, even with things in such upheaval. Even that much might have been good according to the general, but what if Father Gentry believed came to pass? Ryan Cyphers would take the food from everyone's mouth, those in power included. He had all the fobs he needed for the doors to make it to the office with the safe. The carpet on the raised dining area leading to the meeting room was tangibly plush. He heard the lock click open and he turned the silver handle and entered. With the large wall of windows in this meeting room, the contacts were almost unnecessary. Large portrait photos of each of the judges stood on easels in front of the south wall of the meeting room. The entire wall was composed of shelves, filled with books which only probably got touched during dusting or when children were allowed to visit and the judges tried to look wise. He walked past the leather armchair, and the fob clicked the locks of this door open too. He turned the brass knob and entered the office and walked to the red finished desk in the corner and saw the safe under the bottom shelf of the bookcase above. He took out a screen to refresh himself what the code was, 1440. He pushed the rolling leather chair out of the way and knelt in front of the safe and entered the code. It beeped the red LED rapidly 3 times, and he turned the handle and opened the relatively heavy safe door. There was a stack of papers and files, but they didn't look too important. What he was looking for would be, he found it. It was a thin but tall and wide leather-bound portfolio in green, the general guessed. The contacts weren't color accurate. He opened it and looked for the name Colton Williams, just to be sure, and he saw it, and just then he thought he heard footsteps coming from the meeting room on the other side. He closed the safe and stood and remained still to see if he heard anything else. It was hypnotizingly quiet for several moments, but he heard nothing more. Nonetheless, this was no time to slack, and so he clutched the portfolio and took out his silenced pistol and made his way back toward the door. He waited just before opening it for another few moments of quiet, and then took a breath and left the office. No one was readily apparent in the room, which put him more in unease. He looked in the corners and at the windows to see if there was anyone behind the couch using the reflection. No one was there. He figured it was time to stop sneaking and just get the hell out there. He walked briskly through the dining room area and back to the founder's hallway, and then out through a small foyer that led out to an expanse of grass that would lead to the street through a gate that the fob he had would surely work for. He approached the gate door between tall manicured green hedges, and it opened for him. He walked up toward the street that bordered the Capitol and yearned for the cover of the buildings on Tillman Avenue would give him. He kept his head down and made it to an alley in the civilian area and caught his breath. He peeked around the corner once to make sure he wasn't tailed and saw nobody on the street, which was brightly lit from the newly installed street lamps. There had been projects to spruce up the Capitol and surrounding areas the past few months during the summer when it would be easier. Back in the alley, he opened the book because he couldn't wait to learn more of the prophecy and Fount's role, and even his role in the whole thing. He caught a line that explained that at Colton's birth, his mother's heart rate was dangerously rapid following delivery, and the doctors couldn't slow it, even with medication. So the head doctor ordered the nurses to let her see her child one last time, and once she held the baby, her heart rate normalized on its own with no scientific explanation that anyone involved could find.